The galaxy had never known silence like this before. Every sensor, every listening post, every watchtower across thousands of worlds detected the same thing. Something massive was coming. It started as a faint distortion, a ripple through the void, too large and too organized to be a natural phenomenon. Then came the shadows. One by one, stars began to fade from view, swallowed by shapes that stretched for miles. Command centers in the outer colonies went dark within minutes. Communication lines flickered, voices shouting through static as operators screamed for updates. No one could explain what they were seeing. No storm, no cosmic dust cloud, just darkness moving across the stars, steady and deliberate. At first, they thought it was a mistake. Then the first clear image came through from the Leora system, a single warship so massive it eclipsed the sun behind it. The light of the star struggled to cut through the metal surface of the ship. It was not alone. Behind it came another, then another, until space itself looked like a metallic ocean. 500,000 vessels of war had arrived. Panic spread faster than light. The Galactic Council gathered in emergency session, every species sending their leaders through holographic projection. They demanded answers. Who could build so many warships? Who could hide such an armada? But deep down, every one of them already knew. The style of the ships, the structure, the cold design, all human. Humanity had returned. For centuries, they had been exiled, banished beyond the outer rim after the Great Conquered War. The other species had agreed that humans were too dangerous, too unpredictable, too emotional to remain part of the galactic order. They had forced them into silence, destroyed their colonies, and erased their name from history books. And now, the forgotten children of the stars had come home. Admiral Korath, commander of the Zenth Dominion, stood aboard his station watching the dark shapes form lines in perfect military order. He had fought humans once long ago. He remembered their eyes, calm, determined, unyielding. They never fought for power or conquest. They fought for survival, and that made them impossible to defeat. His hands trembled as he whispered, 500,000 ships. Impossible, a quiet voice answered beside him. It was his aide, a young lieutenant barely old enough to remember the war. Sir, they are broadcasting on all frequencies. The admiral hesitated, his throat dry. Play it. Across every world, every ship, and every outpost, the same transmission broke through. It was not a threat. It was not a demand. It was a voice, deep, steady, and unmistakably human. This is the Terran Coalition. You broke the truce. We are here to end it. Those words echoed across the stars like a verdict. On the world of Valus, crowds gathered under the night sky as the darkness spread overhead. Children pointed upward, asking their parents why the stars were gone. No one answered. They could only watch as the silhouette of colossal ships passed silently above, their undersides lined with glowing blue engines that burned brighter than any moon. In the capital of the Galactic Union, the Supreme Council panicked. Armies were mobilized, fleets scrambled. Every world with a weapon pointed it toward the unknown. But even as they prepared for battle, every soldier knew in their heart it was useless. Humanity had built ships that defied reason. Warcraft larger than continents moving with mechanical grace, each hull engraved with the old Terran insignia. Aboard the flagship Eclipsed Prime, Admiral Rowan Hale stood on the bridge, his face lit by the reflection of 1,000 stars. His eyes scanned the endless formation before him. 500,000 vessels stood ready, silent and disciplined. He spoke softly to his second officer. Has the galaxy forgotten so quickly? The officer shook his head. No, sir. They remember. That is why they fear. Rowan looked ahead, the weight of centuries behind his gaze. Then let them see us. As if obeying his command, the human armada activated its running lights. The blackness of space exploded with light, tens of thousands of engines igniting at once, flooding the void with a fiery glow. From distant worlds, it looked like a sunrise spreading across the stars. Aliens who had once celebrated humanity's downfall now watched in terror as the light reached their skies. Civilizations that had mocked humanity's weakness prayed to survive the night. Even the machines of the AI Dominion halted their patrols, calculating probabilities, and finding none that led to victory. But the humans did not attack. They waited. Their ships remained still, forming a wall that stretched across entire sectors. The silence became unbearable. Every world expected destruction, but none came. It was as if humanity was waiting for the galaxy to speak first, and when the first alien fleet approached the human line hoping to negotiate, they were met not with weapons, but with a message. The same deep human voice echoed again, calm yet unyielding. "We do not come to conquer. We come to remind." Those words carried more power than any weapon. Across the stars, leaders froze. What did it mean? What were they reminding them of? And then it struck, the last war, the betrayal, the exile. Humanity had not forgotten. On the observation deck of his station, Admiral Korath felt something deep within his chest, a mixture of guilt and awe. He had once voted to expel them. Now he whispered, "We thought they would fade. We were wrong." As the humans continued to hold their position, the stars slowly disappeared behind their fleet. The entire galaxy seemed to darken under their presence. From the smallest mining world to the grandest capital, everyone saw the same thing, a sky that no longer belonged to them. And in that moment, the galaxy understood something far greater than fear. It was respect, forced, unshakable, and absolute. When the sky turned black, it was not just the stars that vanished. It was the illusion of control, the comfort of superiority, the pride of those who had believed humanity was gone forever. Now, the stars themselves bowed to human will. And for the first time in centuries, the galaxy fell silent. Long before the sky went dark, the galaxy had believed it had erased humanity forever. The great conquered war had ended with fire, cities turned to ash, planets stripped of atmosphere, and fleets torn apart under the weight of thousands of cannons. Humanity had been the final threat to peace, or so they said. The Galactic Union called it necessary purification. History called it the silence of Earth. But history lies. Generations later, children in the academies of the core worlds were taught that humans were extinct. Teachers said they were reckless, violent, emotional creatures who could not be controlled. The truth, buried under centuries of propaganda, was that humanity had fled. They had vanished into the edge of space, beyond charted hyperspace lanes, beyond the reach of any empire. And they had not died. They had evolved. Admiral Rowan Hale stood inside the strategy chamber aboard Eclipse Prime. Holographic stars rotated around him, showing the systems that once belonged to human colonies before the exile. Most were now occupied by alien governments who had rewritten the maps, pretending the Terran name never existed. He traced a line with his gloved hand, following the route of the old migration path. "How long has it been?" he asked quietly. His second officer, Commander Lyricade, answered without hesitation. 307 years since the conquered ban, sir." Rowan's expression was calm, but his eyes carried storms. 300 years and they still think we are gone. They wanted to forget. "Sir, then we will remind them," he said. Outside the ship's armored windows, space shimmered with faint golden lights, the reflections of nearby warships drifting in perfect formation. Their hulls bore the marks of centuries of engineering, dense armor, silent propulsion systems, and engines that pulsed like living hearts. Each vessel carried a name from humanity's past: Arcadia, Olympus, Kyoto, Moscow, Nairobi, Buenos Aires, New Dawn. Every name was a ghost that had returned. Across the galaxy, the reaction was chaos. The Galactic Union's High Council met in a panic. Dozens of alien representatives shouted at once, their languages overlapping in a storm of fear. The Archon Emperor demanded immediate retaliation, calling humans cosmic vermin. The Scythe Collective refused, reminding everyone of the last war's cost. And the Zenth Dominion's Admiral Korath, once proud and defiant, stood in silence. He had seen what human soldiers were capable of. He remembered the siege of Draylen's moon, where a single Terran cruiser held off 5 fleets for 17 days. He remembered the human soldiers who fought hand to hand even when their weapons failed, refusing to surrender until every last breath was gone. They were not monsters, they were relentless. And now, they were organized. The news spread across every communication channel in the galaxy. Human fleet detected. 500,000 ships confirmed. The Terran coalition has returned. On hundreds of worlds, fear became currency. Citizens rushed to shelters. Military academies began deleting human war records, afraid of being seen as sympathetic. And yet, in secret corners, there were those who whispered something different. Not fear, but hope. Some remembered the age before the war, when humans, built hospitals, terraformed dead moons, and shared technology freely. Humanity had been dangerous, yes, but they had also been dreamers. Inside Eclipse Prime, Commander Cade approached Rowan again. "Sir, the Council has sent a message. They request peace talks." Rowan did not look up. His voice was steady, but cold. "They only want peace when they are powerless." "Shall I respond?" she asked. He turned, his expression unreadable. "Not yet. Let them remember why they feared us first." The fleet began to move. Massive carriers drifted through nebula clouds, their shadows stretching across planetary orbits. Recon drones spread like glowing fireflies, scanning every world that had once belonged to humankind. The operation was silent, methodical, without a single shot fired. Yet the effect was terrifying. Planets that had ignored human history now saw their skies darken. Moons trembled under the passage of ancient human dreadnoughts. Mining colonies shut down their reactors, terrified that a human signal might find them. It was not war, it was presence. Admiral Korath watched from his command deck, the old guilt gnawing inside him. "We should never have driven them away," he whispered. "They learned too much in the dark." He ordered his crew to hold position. He wanted to see what humanity would do next. The other empires still debated, still shouted over each other. But Korath knew. He could feel it. The humans had no interest in conquest. This was not vengeance. This was something colder. From the depths of space, a signal flickered again, identical to the first one but longer this time. It was a message sent across every frequency, every planet, every empire. "This is the Terran Coalition," the voice said. "For 3 centuries you called us extinct. For 3 centuries you lied to your children. We waited, not for revenge, but for balance. You will remember who we are." Every world went silent. No one dared to respond. The voice faded, leaving only static and the distant hum of human engines. Commander Cade turned to Admiral Hale. "They are afraid, sir. Every major fleet has halted." Rowan nodded. "Good. Fear is the beginning of understanding." The camera of a drifting drone caught the image that would become legend. A single human flagship moving across a sea of light, surrounded by thousands of smaller warships. It looked like a storm given shape. The galaxy named it the Eclipse March. In the darkness, Rowan whispered one last thing to himself. "You burned us once. Now we bring the fire back, not to destroy, but to show how bright it can be." And as the human fleet advanced, the stars ahead seemed to bow, their light bending in reverence to the return of mankind. Humanity was no longer the hunted. Humanity was the lesson. The first shot of the new war never came. Humanity did not need to fire. Their silence was enough. Every world, every empire, every general understood that even a single mistake could mean the end of everything they had built. In the command halls of the Galactic Union, panic had turned to paralysis. Orders were given and cancelled within minutes. Fleets were moved, then withdrawn again, as fear replaced strategy. The great admirals of the alien empires stood around, holographic maps that showed only one truth. Human ships filled the void like a living storm. But not all leaders were ready to accept defeat. The Arkan Empire, proud and arrogant, sent a vanguard of 3,000 warships to test the human line. They never returned. The reports arrived hours later, distorted, incomplete, full of static. Fragments of terrified voices. "They are everywhere. Can't lock target. Systems offline." Then silence. Not one ship survived. Admiral Rowan Hale stood on the bridge of Eclipse Prime, watching the aftermath through the viewing glass. The human fleet had not fired a single laser. Instead, they had unleashed something the galaxy had never seen before: gravitational war spheres. Small, metallic orbs the size of satellites, released silently into space. They expanded in an instant, creating invisible waves that folded enemy ships like paper, crushing their engines and shutting down their reactors without a single explosion. The alien fleet simply stopped, Thousands of ships drifted dead in space, engines dark, weapons useless, while humanity's armada moved past them like ghosts. On board one of the disabled alien ships, a Zenth pilot stared in disbelief as her radar filled with signatures she could not count. Hundreds of thousands of human ships gliding in perfect coordination, their weapons offline, their movements precise and cold. "They are not attacking us," she whispered. "They are showing us." Admiral Hale gave only one command. "Broadcast the message." The human voice that echoed across the stars was calm, almost kind. "We did not come to destroy. We came to remember." Every fleet in the galaxy received it. Every leader heard it. On the capital world of the Union, the Supreme Chancellor dropped his ceremonial staff as the message replayed again and again. The meaning was clear. Humanity did not seek revenge. Humanity sought acknowledgement. But pride is a dangerous thing. Some still refuse to bow. The Thriss Dominion sent reinforcements, desperate to prove their strength. They entered the Terran field with 10,000 cruisers. None of them fired a shot. Instead, their ships began to drift in perfect synchronization, hijacked remotely by human code. Their navigation systems changed course, aligning into neat rows beside the Terran fleet. The Dominion commander screamed for control, but it was too late. Humanity had not only returned with ships, they had returned with knowledge. The galaxy had built its technologies upon the ruins of Terran science. Now those same systems belonged to their creators once again. The galaxy fell silent. On Eclipse Prime, Commander Lyra Cade stood beside Admiral Hale. "They are surrendering, sir. Multiple empires have lowered their shields." Hale nodded, his expression unreadable. "Good. But we do not accept surrender. We accept memory." A strange order passed through the Terran fleet. Massive flagships began to move into formation above the galactic capital. Slowly, they aligned in a ring formation around the system's twin suns. As the last ship took position, the light from the suns dimmed behind the wall of Terran metal. The galaxy looked up and saw it. An eclipse unlike any other. The two suns, symbols of unity for the Galactic Union, were now darkened by 500,000 human warships. The moment would be remembered for millennia as the eclipse of judgment. From every world, from every moon, billions watched the sky vanish. The humans spoke once more, their voice echoing across every frequency. Balance restored, and then nothing. The fleet stayed motionless, silent, waiting. Some species wept, others prayed. Entire planets shut down in mourning. For the first time in galactic history, there was no war, no resistance, no command that could break the silence. Admiral Korath, watching from his station, felt tears form in his old eyes. He turned to his crew and whispered, "They could have destroyed us all, but they did not." On Earth, or what was left of it, the transmission reached a small colony dome under the gray skies of the Atlantic wastes. Farmers, engineers, and soldiers stopped their work to look up. The fleet had done it. Humanity was no longer a rumor. Humanity was legend. Back aboard Eclipse Prime, Admiral Hale finally gave the order everyone waited for. "Signal the fleet. Begin withdrawal." The officer looked stunned. "Sir, withdrawal? We have total control." Hale's voice was calm but heavy with meaning. "Control is not our purpose. We have made our point." And so, one by one, the human ships turned. Engines flared, trails of blue fire stretching through space as the fleet departed. The gravitational waves faded. Systems across the galaxy flickered back to life, and the light of the suns returned. Billions of eyes watched as the human fleet vanished into the darkness from where it had come. The stars, long hidden behind their shadows, shone again, but they no longer felt like symbols of hope. They were reminders. Because in that silence, every civilization knew the truth. Humanity could return at any time. And if they did, the galaxy would fall silent again. When the human fleet finally left, it felt as if the universe had taken a breath for the first time in days. The light of the twin suns poured back into the galaxy, washing over cities that had hidden in fear, Yet the light did not bring comfort. It brought reflection. The silence that followed was not peace. It was the weight of realization. Across countless worlds, screens still flickered with static from the last Terran broadcast. Balance restored. The words repeated like an echo, replaying on public channels, on military frequencies, even in places where no one had tuned in. It was as though the humans had spoken to the very stars. On the observation deck of his station, Admiral Korath stood alone. His crew had gone silent hours ago, unwilling to speak. Outside the viewport, the void looked empty again, but it did not feel empty. The shadows of 500,000 ships still lingered in the memory of space. He could almost imagine their outlines, faint and ghostly, like an afterimage burned into the universe. He had fought in 3 wars. He had watched entire planets burn. Yet never had he seen an enemy leave without victory, or demand nothing after holding the power to destroy everything. They could have ended us, his aide whispered behind him. Why did they stop? Korath did not answer immediately. His old hands rested against the glass. Because we were already defeated, he said softly. And they knew it. For weeks afterward, no empire dared to speak first. The Galactic Union suspended all operations. Its capital lay dark, its great towers silent. The arrogance that had once filled its halls was gone. Every leader waited, uncertain if humanity would return. Then one morning a signal appeared, soft, faint, barely more than a whisper. It came from the edge of known space where the Terran fleet had vanished. Scientists analyzed it, decoded it, replayed it hundreds of times. The message was short. Do not mistake peace for weakness. It was signed simply, the Terran Coalition. The galaxy listened. No one dared respond. Across the colonies, children asked their parents what the humans were like. Some were told that humans were monsters. Others heard they were saviors. But one truth remained unshaken. Humanity was real, and they had seen them with their own eyes. In the centuries of exile, the galaxy had learned to live without fear. But now fear had become respect, and respect had turned to awe. The old propaganda crumbled. Statues were built not to heroes, but to warnings. Memorials of that day when the stars went dark. Far beyond known space, aboard the Eclipse Prime, Admiral Rowan Hale watched the galaxy shrink behind him. The bridge was quiet. Only the soft hum of the ship's core filled the silence. Commander Lyra Kate approached, her tone uncertain. It's over, sir, she said. The Council has surrendered all claim to Terran space. The Union is collapsing. Rowan did not answer immediately. His eyes were fixed on the star lines ahead, streaks of light from distant suns. It was never about collapse, he finally said. It was about truth. They needed to remember what they erased. Will we return? She asked. Someday, he said quietly. When they forget again. She hesitated, looking at him with something between admiration and sorrow. And until then? Rowan turned toward the viewing window. Outside, the last of the Terran ships slipped into hyperspace, their engines leaving trails like glowing scars across the void. Until then, he said, we rebuild. We remember who we are. In the silence that followed, a strange peace filled the room. It was not the peace of victory nor the peace of surrender. It was the peace of purpose, knowing the galaxy would never again doubt the will of humankind. Back in the galactic core, the Union's historians rewrote their records. The official entry for the event was simple. The Eclipse March, year 7314 Galactic Standard. A note followed beneath. Humanity returned. The stars bowed, and then they left. Years later, as the generations changed and stories turned into myths, young cadets in alien academies would whisper about the humans. Some said their ships were alive, powered by souls of the old Terran dead. Others said they came from another dimension. But a few, the wise ones, knew the truth. Humanity was watching, always. On one forgotten moon, a child looked up at the sky and saw a strange light moving against the stars. It wasn't a comet, nor a satellite. It was too fast, too smooth. The child smiled and whispered, "They're back." And somewhere beyond the rim of the galaxy, a human voice answered through the stars, soft but clear, as if the universe itself carried it. We never left. The stars shone again, but this time they shone under humanity's shadow.